Hello everyone. In this video of transition and inner transition elements chapter, I'll be talking about the properties of d block elements. First property, atomic and ionic radii, we have talked about already, and now I'll be talking about ionization enthalpy. Ionization enthalpies of transition elements are intermediate between the s block and p block elements. This suggests that transition elements are less electropositive than the group 1 and group 2 elements, and depending upon the condition they used to form ionic or covalent bonds. Generally, in the lower oxidation states, these elements form ionic compounds, while when they are in higher oxidation state they used to form covalent compounds. Ionization enthalpy value, if you are seeing here in table number 6, you will get to know the idea. For example, scandium. First ionization enthalpy value in kilojoule per mole for removal first electron is 632 kJ per mole. When it is coming to the electron which is there in the 4s, the second electron, we would require almost double amount of energy, that is 1245 kilojoule per mole, and third ionization enthalpy is becoming almost double for of the second. So this is how the ionization enthalpy vary when we are studying for d block element. The atoms of these elements of third transition series possess filled orbitals, and if we are talking about the further series, they have filled 4f orbitals, and 4f orbitals show poor shielding effect. So as a result, what will happen? Nuclear charge is increased. This is what we have learnt in ionic radii also. The nuclear charge is increasing because there is a poor shielding effect. So what will happen? We would require more amount of energy to remove electron from the atom. Now the next is metallic character. Low ionization enthalpies and vacant d orbitals in the outermost shell are responsible for the metallic character in transition elements. These favor the formation of metallic bonds, and they have typical metallic properties also. They are hard in nature. They used to form covalent bond, and it is only possible because there are unpaired electron present in their d orbitals or penultimate d subshells. Nearly all transition metals have simple hexagonal packed structure or HCP, cubic close packed structure or BCC lattices. In all transition series, the melting points steadily increase up to D5 configuration, and chromium, molybdenum, tungsten shows high melting point in their respective states, whereas Mn and Tc display the anomalous values of melting points. After this, the increasing atomic number, the melting point will decrease gradually. Now the next property is magnetic properties. The compounds of transition metals exhibit magnetic properties due to unpaired electron present in their atoms or ions. When magnetic field is applied, substances which are attracted towards the applied field are called paramagnetic, and the ones which are repelling are called diamagnetic. And there are some substances which are strongly attracted to the magnetic field are called ferromagnetic substances. Iron, cobalt, nickel are ferromagnetic substances. When magnetic field is applied externally, all the unpaired electron of these metals and their compounds align in the direction of the applied magnetic field. Due to this, magnetic susceptibility is enhanced, and Metal can be magnetized and acquire permanent magnetic moment also. Now, magnetic moment used to be determined experimentally in the solution or in solid state, where the central metal is hydrated or bound to the ligands. The slight difference in the calculated and observed value of magnetic moment would be noticed. Each unpaired electron gives rise to the small magnetic field or magnetic moment. Due to this, its spin angular momentum and orbital angular momentum. In the 3D series, the contribution from orbital angular momentum is quenched and could be neglected also. And the spin only formula for magnetic moment could be given as mu is equal to square root of n multiplied by n plus 2 Bohr magneton, where n is the number of unpaired electron and m is the magnetic moment represented in Bohr magneton. From the magnetic moment nu measurement of metal complexes of the 3D elements and the number of electron can be calculated for the use of spin only formula. Now, magnetic moment are determined experimentally or in solid state, I told you earlier, and there is a slight difference in the calculated and observed magnetic moment which is noticed. In fact, in second and third transition series, orbital angular momentum is significant. Therefore, the simple spin only formula is not useful and more complicated equation have to be employed to determine magnetic moment for the second and third series. And further, it is also found that the magnetic moments are temperature dependent also. Now, color. A substance appears colored if it absorbs portion of visible light. The color depends upon the wavelength of absorption in the visible region of electromagnetic radiation. The ionic and covalent compounds formed by transition elements are colored. Elements contain unpaired electrons in their d orbitals. When the atoms are free or isolated, the 5d orbitals are degenerated and having same energy. And in complex, what will happen? Metal are surrounded by solvent molecules or ligands. The surrounded molecules affect the energy levels of d orbitals and they would remain not same at all. The amount of energy required for transition of electron from one d orbital to another d orbital, it is very small, and the small energy which is required to transit one electron from one energy level to another energy level will be available by the absorption of the radiation of certain wavelength from visible region. Remaining light, what will happen to the remaining light? One portion is absorbed and remaining light would be transmitted back. So the observed color of compound corresponds to the complementary color of light absorbed. That means if red light is absorbed, then the transmitted light contain excess of the other color in the spectrum in the particular blue, so compound will appear blue in color, right? The ions having no unpaired electron are colorless. For example, zinc has no unpaired electron, neither zinc or neither nor zinc ion. And in this is the diagram by which we can think about the uh, light light emitted by the substance. Like if the substance is absorbing red portion of visible region, it will be appeared blue in color. And one more thing, the transition metal ion is also depend upon the ligand and the geometry of molecule formed by the metal ion. When cobalt chloride is dissolved in water, it will form pink complex with has because of the formation of this complex ion having octahedral geometry. And when it is added with hydrochloric acid, you will get to see the formation of this complex ion, which is having a tetrahedral geometry. So this is how, when the ligand is changing, the geometry is also changing. So what will happen? The color is changing. So we can say here the color of transition metal ion refers to the presence of unpaired d electrons, dd transition, nature of ligand attached to metal ion, geometry of complex formed by the metal ion. These are the four factors which will give you the idea of color of transition metal ion for the particular metal. I repeat, thus the color of transition metal ion relates to presence of unpaired d electrons, dd transition, nature of ligand attached to metal ion, and the geometry of complex formed by the metal ion. Now catalytic properties. Transition metals and their compound exhibit good catalytic properties. They are proven to be a good homogeneous and heterogeneous catalyst, and partly because of their ability to participate in different redox reaction in catalytic activity. There are metals like iron, cobalt, nickel, palladium, platinum, chromium and their compound which are used in number of reaction as catalyst. In homogeneous catalysis reaction, metal ions participate by the forming an intermediate, or you can say unstable compound. And in heterogeneous catalyst, they used to provide surface to one of the reactant to react. Some example like manganese dioxide is used to act as a catalyst for the decomposition of potassium chlorate. In the Haber process for manufacturing ammonia, molybdenum and iron is used as catalyst. Or you can say one reaction we have learned, hydrogenation reaction of alkenes and alkynes, nickel catalyst is used. Or you can say in contact process, industrial process, it is an industrial process for manufacturing sulfuric acid. Sulfur dioxide combined with oxygen in the presence of solid platinized asbestos. So there are so many examples where so many catalysts from D block element are used. Now next is formation of interstitial compound. When small atom like hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen are trapped in interstitial space within the crystal lattice, the compound which are formed are called interstitial compounds, and the sites where the atoms are trapped are called interstitial sites. Steel, cast iron are the interstitial compound of carbon and iron, which we already know. What all are the properties of interstitial compounds? They are hard, they are good conductor of heat and electricity. They are their chemical properties used to remain same as parent metal. Their melting points are high. Their density is less than the parent metal. The metallic carbides are chemically inert and extremely hard as diamond. And hydrides of transition metals are usually used as a reducing agent. Now, another property is formation of alloys. Transition metals form alloys where atoms of one metal are distributed randomly in the crystal lattice of the another metal. The metal with similar radii or with the similar properties readily form alloys, and alloys could be classified into two categories. Category number 1 is called ferrous alloys and category number 2 is called non-ferrous alloys. Now, what do you mean by ferrous alloys? Ferrous alloys are the alloys have atoms of other element distributed randomly in atoms of iron in a mixture. In this, the percentage of iron is more. So they are termed as ferrous alloys. For example, nickel steel, chromium steel, stainless steel. These are ferrous alloys because iron is present in more percentage. Whereas non-ferrous alloys are those which are formed by the mixing of transition element other than iron with non-transition element, like brass, copper and zinc. Brass is a alloy of copper and zinc. Now it is non-ferrous alloy. What all are the uses of alloys? Bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. It is tough, it is strong, it is corrosion resistant. It used to make medals, trophies, and statues also. Another alloy is like cupra nickel. It is an alloy of copper and nickel. It is used to make machinery parts, marine ships, and boats. Stainless steel, you all know, it is used for various purposes, used in the construction of outer fuselage of ultra high speed aircraft. Nichrome alloy is made up of nickel and chromium in ratio 80:20. And the last one is titanium alloy. Titanium alloy withstands stressed up to the high temperature and are used for ultra high speed flight. Thank you.